What do you do with the rain from a 1,000-year storm? In Milwaukee, the decision is in the hands of one man. Dan Wanschura of Interlochen Public Radio and the Points North podcast brings us the story.
If you live in Milwaukee, every time you flush a toilet or put something down your drain, it becomes Kevin Shafer's problem. He's the executive director of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District, MMSD, which serves the city of Milwaukee and the surrounding area, 423 square miles total.
People think it smells, but I don't really notice it that much, maybe because I'm around it a lot.
Inside that area, the gross stuff in the sewer, Kevin decides where it goes.
What are you going to be doing to that river versus water in people's basements?
And that means his natural enemy is rain. So on Saturday, August 9th, 2025, he checked the weather forecast just like he does every morning. It looked okay. There'd be rain, but not much. Less than half an inch. Sunday looked similar.
See, Saturday morning on the 9th, they were predicting 0.4 inches with a worst case of 1.1. And I thought, okay, we're fine. That's not much rain. If we're less than 2 inches, I don't worry about it too much.
He has a pretty normal Saturday. He takes his family out for pizza. That's when he looks outside and sees it's raining hard, like buckets of rain.
It was kind of a shock because based on the forecast we'd received that morning, we would have been fine. So I was a little surprised.
Hang on. Kevin's got a classic Midwest vibe, pretty understated. So when he says he was a little surprised, what he really means is
scared, shocked, mad.
This is way more rain than the forecast called for. Way, way more. Kevin heads home.
So I go in, I turn the computer on, I get on the phone, I call our outreach person and say, okay, I think we're going to have a problem tonight, just be ready for it.
Let's talk about that problem. In Milwaukee, when something goes down a drain, it should flow through the sewer network into bigger and bigger pipes until it reaches a wastewater treatment plant. There, the nasty things are removed and clean treated water is released into Lake Michigan. But it doesn't always happen like that. Like a lot of the Great Lakes cities, Milwaukee has a combined sewer system. Stormwater and waste go into the same pipes and mix, and it all has to be treated as sewage. In most of MMSD's service area, though, the systems are separate. Stormwater is directed to rivers, and waste from homes and businesses goes into a sanitary sewer system that takes it to the wastewater treatment plant. In theory, rainwater doesn't get into the sanitary sewer system, but in real life, everything leaks. Rainwater saturates the ground and pushes into the sewer pipes, greatly increasing the amount of sewage that needs treating. That's why rain is Kevin's enemy. All right, back to August 9th.
This is a severe weather update.
Good evening, meteorologist Shino Recchia. We do have a new flash flood warning that has been issued for Milwaukee County. This shows how heavy the rain is coming down, and where you do have those purple colors, that's between about 4 to as much as 6 inch per hour rate.
Multiple cars stuck inside feet of water. Severe flash flooding ripping through the southeast Wisconsin area for hours.
The storm is putting way more into the sewer system than the treatment plants can handle, and it all has to go somewhere. It's Kevin's job to decide where. Luckily, Kevin has an ace up his sleeve: the deep tunnel. We get in an elevator and go 300 feet underground. The deep tunnel is basically this giant holding tank underneath the normal sewer system.
We're at the downstream end of the deep tunnel, so all the water flows to this point and then we pump it up.
When there's a big rainstorm, Kevin can take pressure off the regular sewer system by routing stormwater and sewage here, where it can be held until the rain stops and the treatment plants catch up.
This is a pump unit, and so when the pumps come on, they'll take that water and they'll pump it up 330 feet, and it goes right into the primary treatment system, so then it's all treated before it goes to the lake.
The deep tunnel can hold 521 million gallons of sewage. The whole system is over 28 miles long.
And it's not too smelly.
No, See, I told you. Everyone goes, oh, it must stink. I go, I don't smell it.
But sometimes the deep tunnel fills all the way up. And when that happens, Kevin's stuck. If he does nothing, the water will back up into thousands of basements. That's really not an option.
See people walking around in their basements that are full of sewage. It's a severe public health risk, and I will protect the public first choice every time.
To protect public health, Kevin has to call for a sewage overflow. That means pathogens like bacteria and viruses spilling into rivers and even Lake Michigan. Stuff like E. coli and salmonella. And if there's one thing Kevin hates, it's that.
You've got a watershed with 1.1 million people, and they're expecting perfection. They want everything to work. So you do what you can, but you know that you're limited, and you put everything into it.
He chokes up for a minute, which kind of catches me off guard.
So anyway, you got to cut all this out. You just got to cut all this out.
Like a lot of waterways in the region, the Milwaukee River was a mess for a long time.
We had carp, and that was about the only fish that would live in our rivers. Everything else was dead. It was an open sewer, basically, because, 365 days a year, and you're having overflows 50 to 60 of those days. That's not good.
We're talking like 8 to 9 billion gallons of sewage and stormwater a year. Residents weren't happy, and the sewerage district was getting the blame. Then came the Clean Water Act in 1972.
The Clean Water Act passed, and all of a sudden you went from, okay, it's okay to have as many as you want, to, whoop, you got to stop them.
Milwaukee's solution was the deep tunnel, which was completed in 1993 at a cost of $3 billion. It cut the number of combined sewer overflows from 50 or 60 to less than 6, the maximum imposed by the EPA. And the deep tunnel captured the worst of the sewage, so what did overflow was mostly rainwater. It had a big impact.
What we saw was almost immediate improvement in the water quality in the rivers. There was not the stuff floating in the rivers that we had before. We saw fish reviving in the waterways, so it was spectacular to see nature respond to this cleaning effort.
But overflows were still happening, and the public wanted to know why. One reason? At that time, the deep tunnel system was controlled by an algorithm, and it didn't always make the best decisions. Sometimes it allowed overflows when the deep tunnel wasn't even full.
So we'd have an overflow, the tunnel would be half full, and the rain would stop. And then the next day, the media was all over. It's like, you still had half the tunnel. Why did you have an overflow? They put all this money into the sanitary sewer system, and this is improvements at the treatment plants, building the deep tunnel, all kinds of stuff. They put $3 billion into it, and they did not want to see overflows when that system still had capacity to hold water.
One of the very first things Kevin did when he became executive director in 2002 was to replace the faulty algorithm that controlled the deep tunnel. And he replaced it with himself.
If we're going to get blamed for the overflow, I'm going to be the one making that decision. I'm not going to let the algorithm run it because I'm the one that's going to be in the cameras the next day.
That's why 8 or 10 times a year, he sweats it out watching the rain come down, just like he did on the night of August 9th, 2025.
It's Kevin sitting in his underwear at a computer at home, writing on a pad of paper these numbers and going, oh, okay, what are we going to do?
He's hoping the rain will stop, but it just keeps coming. Parts of the city will get more than a foot of rain before it's over. Around 10 p.m., he closes the gate from the combined sewer system to the deep tunnel, initiating a combined sewer overflow. Again, the EPA only allows Milwaukee 6 of those a year.
You just see all the water that was coming in the tunnel. That water's now going to the lake and to the rivers.
At that point, the tunnel isn't totally full. The separated sanitary sewers are still flowing into it because Kevin isn't supposed to let the sanitary sewers overflow ever. But in the end, there's just too much water. Around 3 in the morning, the deep tunnel is filled to the brim, and Kevin is out of options.
At some point, we have to close the other set of gates, which are the separate sewer gates. At that point, you've closed off all flow going into the tunnel because it's full and you're treating it as fast as you can at the treatment plants.
From that point on, anything entering the system is headed for the Milwaukee River and Lake Michigan.
It was just one of those times where, okay, you've done everything you can. Everything's still working, but the Mother Nature just came in with too much. So at that point, you're just holding on, waiting for the rain to stop.
He knows streets are flooded and basements. People are going to be upset.
Backed up basements, raging rivers, and cars floating, even underwater on state highways.
In the morning, there's a press conference. Kevin should be there, but the highway is flooded, so he misses it. A city engineer speaks instead.
We had 14 inches of rain in this location right here, which is an intense amount in a short period of time. So there's no sewer system across the country that can maintain that amount.
The overall response to this overflow is kind of surprising.
Everyone kind of understood that, this is a big storm.
The storm did more than $33 million in damage. 1,500 homes were seriously damaged or destroyed, and over 5 billion gallons of sewage overflowed into rivers and Lake Michigan.
But it was mostly rainwater, so there weren't any fish die-offs or other long-term environmental impacts that we know of. And Kevin Shafer and the Sewerage District get a lot of the credit for that. The Sewerage District has captured and cleaned over 98% of all the stormwater and wastewater that's entered the system since 1994. The goal nationally is way less, 85%. Besides building the deep tunnel, Milwaukee also replaced concrete water channels with natural landscapes to soak up stormwater before it gets to the sewers. Green roofs and rain barrels help too.
These days, the Sewerage District averages just over 2 overflows a year.
I think a lot of that is this ethic of do every damn thing you can to stop an overflow. Do everything you can to improve stormwater runoffs, and everything you can to make sure the plants treat the wastewater the way they're supposed to.
But for Kevin, that success comes with a cost.
I've told folks as a joke, I said, yeah, I'm going to have therapy to have for PTSD to just recover from some of this. And as you saw, it's going to impact me. And I wish I had it controlled, but 24 years later, I'm still as emotional as I was before.
Put your finger on it for me. Why do you care that much?
My kids are going to live here. Everyone else's kids are going to live here. I want to live in a place that's as clean as it can be, as natural as it can be.